It's been 100 days since President Trump took the oath of office. He promised to lead America in a new golden age of prosperity.
The president has pursued his agenda at a dizzying pace. CBN News White House correspondent Kelly Wright reports on his accomplishments and challenges.
The White House says President Trump's first 100 days has been marked by a series of winning. Polls indicate, however, that for a growing number of people experiencing economic uncertainty due to tariffs, winning feels more like losing.
Do I support what Trump did, which is an arbitrary tariff on virtually every country on earth, which will raise prices substantially for ordinary Americans? No, I don't.
An ABC Washington Post Ipsos poll finds his approval ratings sinking on the economy. A majority of Americans think things are worse now than when he took office. 73% say it's in bad shape. As for other moves, 64% say he's going too far in trying to expand presidential powers. 62% said they don't think his administration respects the rule of law. The president also facing backlash over its immigration actions, including the deportation of multiple women with U.S.-born children. The president's touting results, however, along the U.S.-Mexico border as the #1 accomplishment in his first 100 days. Figures indicate the once massive influx of migrants into the United States is now down to nearly zero. Border czar Tom Homan says the president's plan is working.
President Trump was able to do in 7 to 8 weeks what the Biden administration couldn't or wouldn't do in 4 years, right? So the border's locked down at the highest level ever.
Another promise kept deals with faith, as in creating the White House Faith Office and putting it in the West Wing. Trump also launched the task force on anti-Christian bias. I talked to Paula White-Cain, senior advisor for the Faith Office, about the attention paid to religious liberty.
There will be Muslims, there will be Jewish, there will be Christian, there will be Sikh, there will be people of all faiths. We are here to help people, to defend people, and to protect people of faith.
In foreign affairs, the president continues to work toward bringing peace to the Middle East, including talks with Iran to stop its nuclear program. One promise that remains unfulfilled is brokering an end to the war between Ukraine and Russia. The president met with Ukraine President Zelensky in Rome, where both men attended the funeral of Pope Francis. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says President Trump is hopeful Russia's President Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's Zelensky will agree to a deal for peace.
He's trying to end a 3-year war that has no military solution, where everyday people are dying, especially on the Ukrainian side, in many cases civilians and children, as we've seen the images over the last few weeks.
President Trump will celebrate his 100 days in office during a celebratory event in Warren, Michigan, a swing state that he won decisively on his path to becoming the nation's 47th president. At the White House, Kelly Wright, CBN News.
Thank you so much, Kelly. CBN News chief political analyst David Brody joins us now for more. David, the president has been nonstop. He's getting this administration off to a stronger, faster start than his first term, although Chuck Schumer just recently called it 100 days from hell. What's with this dizzying pace of these first 100 days?
Well, dizzying pace and President Trump run in the same sentence, Andrew, so we start from that standpoint. But look, when I say he's running out of time, he's a second-term president who has this thing called the midterm elections, believe it or not, coming up in about a year and a half. And so he's got to get things done, because after the midterms, you typically become lame duck. Well, he's going to be lame duck anyhow. So I think there's this growing need to do it quickly. And, you know, this time around compared to the first time is very different. You know, with the first administration in those first 100 days, President Trump came in and he was trying to take on the government bureaucracy. This time around, he really is kind of providing a masterclass on how to do it. And what do I mean by masterclass? He's been disciplined. I mean, this administration has been extremely disciplined in the first 100 days. They know what they want to do. They're not having to deal with Russia, 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 as he likes to say. Remember, Jeff Sessions, in that first 100 days in the first administration, recused himself from the Russia investigation. And Trump was, how do I say it? Oh, I don't know, ticked off at that. And from there, it just kind of spiraled a little bit into kind of a negativity or a negative atmosphere. It's different this time. A lot of positive vibes inside the White House, despite the polls.
All right, so the economy we know is a major reason many Americans voted for Trump. And now polls are showing, depending if you believe these polls or not, I'm hearing mixed things about them, more than half of the people believe the economy's worse than when he took over and the tariff policies are hurting. Are there some concerns in the White House over this polling?
Well, look, no, I think the bottom line is no, there aren't. Now, having said that, there's always an asterisk with that, which is, of course, they're keeping an eye, obviously, on the polls and the views of the American electorate. That's for sure. But this White House is determined and purposeful this time around, kind of as I was mentioning just previously. We also have to remember regarding the polls, and this is an important fact, you know, the Media Research Center just came out with this astonishing statistic. 92% of the coverage against President Trump in the first 100 days in his administration was negative. That compares to 59% that was positive during Joe Biden's first term. So look, if you keep telling someone you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, you're going to believe, guess what, that you're no good. And I think that that's a lot of it is media perception. Here's a quick example from the media. Look, the media, the liberal media, talked about how the stock market plunge was the worst April ever since the Great Depression. Well, guess what? Now the NASDAQ is actually up in April, but that's not being reported by the liberal media. It's all about spin.
Let's talk about immigration. The administration's highlighting success. We just heard that in Kelly's story on illegal immigration. There is growing concern about deportations and due process, even from some Trump supporters. Could that change the administration's methods on this?
No, I don't think it's going to change their methods at all. I think they're going to double down. That's what we've seen from this White House. And I think where this is all going, ultimately, Andrew, is the Supreme Court. I mean, we know it's been at the Supreme Court already on certain due process issues as it relates to Kilgar Abreu Garcia, the guy from Maryland, the illegal alien from Maryland who was deported to El Salvador. But beyond all of that, you've got birthright citizenship and you've got other due process issues, especially as it relates to the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. So the Supreme Court's going to have to weigh in a much more detailed way going forward. So this is why we're talking about this I shouldn't say judicial crisis, but this potential constitutional crisis, because what happens when the Supreme Court says, you must do this, White House, and the White House says, we're not going to do it. I don't think it's going to come to that. The White House says it's not going to come to that. We'll see.
All right, final question. What do you think is next for the administration? We seem to be hearing a little less about DOJ nowadays. What do you think is coming up?
Well, Andrew, thanks for asking me that, because I got to tell you, I got enough to deal with in the short term, let alone look into the long term. But I will say this, it's all about budget reconciliation. We've heard those two words before. Just to kind of make it in layman's terms, you know what budget reconciliation really means? It's Congress's way of passing President Trump's agenda. That's what it is, codifying it all into law. And that's what's next on the horizon. And I see, as it relates to the 100 days, I see it as kind of pre-BR and post-BR. BR standing for, of course, budget reconciliation. What is his approval numbers before pre-BR, and what will his numbers be, and what will the American outlook look like post-BR, after budget reconciliation, which could come as early as July, possibly into August. Then we go to 200 and 300 days, and we see what happens from there.
All right, David, thanks so much. Appreciate you.